Hi everybody and welcome to our Heel Heat Show, our Raw show for the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Lenny Lane.
Gary Rhodes, everybody. Sorry about that.
Sorry about your damn luck.
Exactly.
Anyway, the first thing we're going to talk about, they started off the Monday Night Raw show with a promo with Dolph Ziggler, which brought out Sheamus, which brought out the Big Show. It was a decent opener. I like that they're giving Ziggler a little more time to develop his character, build him into a main event star. He's interacting with the main event guys like Sheamus, like Cena, Big Show. I enjoy that aspect of it. Basically, set up your two main events, three if you count what Vicky said, for later in the night. Sheamus versus Ziggler and Show versus Cena, which brought out. After the commercial break, we had Vicky and Vince come out, who announced those two matches, and then also AJ Lee versus Vicky Guerrero.
Impressed.
With the way AJ looks?
Yeah, she looked better. Dolled her hair up a little bit. It looked alright.
There you go. She was in New Jersey.
She's a Jersey girl. But what happened next was a pretty good match, the Barrett versus Truth match.
I liked it. I like what they're kind of doing between this and the Kofi and Cesaro thing, with them interchanging these two feuds. It makes sense. It brings them on TV. Barrett and Cesaro are two guys that should work together, just like Kofi and Truth have been known to work together. And I kind of like it. It kind of has an old school feel. How they used to build pay-per-views back in the day is you would, wrestle an opponent from a different match to build your match, and also their match gets built.
Exactly. So when you talk about tag teams, so the next time we had a fatal four-way. How they phrase it? It was four-way
elimination tag match, and the premise was the winner got to face Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara at the pay-per-view for the number one contender match. So this wasn't even a number one contender four-way. We had the Primetime Players versus Epico and Primo versus the Usos versus the returning Rhodes Scholars.
And the mustache. Oh, yes. Porn star in the house. I was impressed with the Usos, though. I mean, they were really on fire last night.
I mean, what can you really say about these guys? These guys are I think, in my opinion, they're the top tag team that's going to stay together for a while.
Exactly.
They're meant to be a tag team. They're a great team. They have great team maneuvers. They have great ring psychology as a team. They know how to work as faces. They know how to work as heels. They had the crowd behind them. And
the thing is, now they're looking more like wrestlers than they did when they first started. They've bulked up quite a bit. And, being Samoan, they don't have to have the best build. I mean, most of your great Samoan wrestlers don't have the best builds. But they still perform like crazy. They're kind of like Dusty Rhodes or something like that from back in the day. They can go an hour long and still have a beer gut.
Kind of like they kind of remind me of the Samoan SWAT team.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tag teams from back in the day.
Yeah, and they work well together. The Rhodes Scholars go over. As soon as I seen them coming into the match, I knew they would. Yeah. Cody's mustache got a chant. Did you notice during this match, I wanted to bring this up and I forgot to put it in our notes, that there was a Colt Cabana chant.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they chanted Colt Cabana. Apparently Colt Cabana was backstage. Maybe he came out into the crowd for a bit, but the rumor is that Colt Cabana on his podcast is going to have a big announcement. The rumor going around is he's going to be one of the new announcers for WWE. Which I think would be great.
I think so too. The guy's a great talker. He's gifted. Might be too late in his career to have a contract to wrestle, so might as well put him on there and let him talk.
Yeah, why not?
I think that'd be a great idea.
Speaking of two people that can't talk worth a damn, you like that segue?
I did like that segue.
We had Eve versus Alicia Fox, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Honestly, you know what? I'm going to say it a little bit better. I mean, it wasn't a shit match compared to what they've been.
I don't like Alicia Fox. I don't like her character. I don't like her in-ring ability. She has no purpose. Is she heel? Is she face?
No, that's the thing. I like her in-ring ability, but like you are right. They keep marking her this way and marking her that way. is a heel one week, a face the next. You know, it's not her fault. It's the continuity. You know, it's backstage.
Still, I can't grow interest in the character Alicia Fox. Eve has been a boring world champion. She's probably, out of all the women on the roster, the one that I would least like to see as the champion.
Yeah. Well, speaking of champions, nice segue, huh? CM Punk was out next, talking about his leg injury and so forth, saying that, you know, people thinking he's faking it because of trying to dodge Ryback.
Him and Paul Heyman ran down the New Jersey crowd.
Oh, like only they could. And the good thing is that they've already started working on talking shit to The Rock.
Yeah. To Dwayne.
He likes Phil.
It's going to be a good build-up, I think. I kind of like that they're not going to have Punk in the match versus Ryback on a pay-per-view. Apparently, it's going to happen between now and the Royal Rumble, but the match that everybody wants to see, in my opinion, and I think you do as well, is The Rock versus CM Punk. I mean, I'm more interested in Rock versus Punk than I was in Rock versus Cena. I would have been more interested in Rock versus Orton than Rock versus Cena.
Well, the thing is, it kind of fucks Cena up because they had over a year to build the Cena and Rock thing, and it's only been a couple of months that that's been confirmed that Punk would still be the champion for the Punk and Rock match, and people are still talking about it way more than they were the Cena match, and it's not even getting the advertisement for the company.
That's because people got burned down on the Cena and Rock thing about 2 months in.
Exactly.
Now, before we go into our question of the week, our question we sent out, we had one of our friends actually sent us a question, so we're going to go ahead and address that before we get into ours. This is from Joshua Adams, 1044. I've got a question. How would you bring Cody Rhodes back, and who against? If they aren't putting titles on Rhodes and Sandow, they should repackage Cody as a face and have him come back and work against Ziggler. That would help raise the bar, much like Shawn versus Brett or Punk versus Bryan did. This is coming from someone who is a third-generation fan. Obviously, they brought Cody back before we could answer this question, but we will give you our opinion anyway. How would you have brought Cody back other than what they've done?
Other than what they've done, Royal Rumble. I figured he would have come back Rumble and probably won it. I mean, because honestly, proof of Sheamus last year winning that you don't have to have the biggest name in the card to win the Rumble. Alberto Del Rio was before that. You don't have to have. It's not going to be Hulk Hogan every year or Austin or anything like that. Like it used to be, like all the big name guys. You kind of knew we were going to win it. When Triple H came back in 2000, was it 2000?
Yeah, one of those years.
Yeah, one of those years. You knew he was winning the Royal Rumble. With this, it would have been a kind of a little shocker.
And here's what I would have done with the Cody Rhodes coming back. We have Sandow looking for an apprentice thing. I would have had Sandow find an apprentice, and then Cody Rhodes attack either Sandow or the apprentice, basically saying you can't wait around for me. And he basically kind of turning Cody Rhodes into a face, but more of a hard-ass face, kind of a Stone Cold Steve Austin style face.
See, getting into talking about this, it's almost like talking about a segment we're going to talk about later on with the Miz TV Rhodes Scholars.
Yeah.
Let's just go into that now then.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Well, because I was going to bring up the fact that I think they are trying to break the team up.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to that segment. Now, from that, and great question. If anybody has any questions for us, let us know. We'll address them on the appropriate show. We waited for this to do it on the WWE show since it was a WWE question. But if you guys got any questions, throw them out there. We'll answer them. We're more than welcome to feedback with you guys what you think and what we think. Now, on our question of the week from last week, our question was, do you like Vince McMahon as face Vince? The first answer we got is from our friend Choppy84. I think Vince should stay off of TV altogether because he is so stale. I think they should just bring in Triple H as the authority figure.
They tried to.
And our next one is from our friend Joshua Adams, 1044. Vince is a much better heel because you love to hate him. I hate him for shoving Cena down my throat as well as squashing wrestlers who should be in the spotlight. I couldn't see myself cheering for him, period, because of real life Vince. So keep him as a heel. Vince face seems forced anyway.
agree with that too.
Here's my opinion. I never liked Vince McMahon, the announcer. I didn't like Vince McMahon until he became Mr. McMahon. And then just like everybody else in the Attitude Era, I was hooked into his character. I was wanting to see what he was going to do, what Stone Cold was going to do, what The Rock would do, and he became one of the cogs that kept the show running. Now, face Vince, in my opinion, defeats the purpose of people like Vicky Guerrero and Booker T. Why have GMs if you just got Vince that's running everything anyway? And he's a face, so he's going to be for the faces and fix the wrongs of the heel GM, which defeats the purpose of having a heel GM.
Mm-hmm. My opinion is, heel Vince was he is the greatest heel ever.
Better than Heenan?
Better than Heenan, just for the plain simple fact, he's the boss. Everybody loves to hate their boss. And, even in the Attitude Era DVD, which we really say do not buy, watch it on Netflix. Anyways, they even stated on there that the greatest heel of all time was McMahon, which brought out the greatest face of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you look at it that way. I mean, like Choppy 84 said, it just seems forced when he's a babyface.
Yeah. And I don't like. I'm sure Vince he's a great guy in some respects, and he's an asshole in some respects.
He's a businessman. You can't.
So it's part of each of his character. I like heel Vince better. I'd rather have heel Vince or no Vince at all. Vince face just does not do it for me at all. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is, being as CM Punk was taken out of the main event, they're putting the Shield in the main event against Team Hell No and Ryback. Do you think they're rushing the Shield angle, putting them into a match so quickly? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Facebook. Hit us up on our Twitter. Put it down where?
Down there. So I even went boom all out on that one. That?
Hit us up in our comments. Let us know what you think, and we'll tell you next week what we think about that. And coming from that, one of the matches that was set up earlier in the show was Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler. I thought it was a solid match. I've seen the two of them have better, but for the show that we have, and I'll get into that a little bit later when we do the overview of the show, I thought it was one of the more solid matches on it.
I'll agree with you on there. I mean, but these two have been facing each other back and forth for a while. So I do like the way they're mixing the two singles main events up, like what they did earlier with the Intercontinental and United States champions. So I understand that, and these two usually put on a decent match. It wasn't their best, like you said, but it wasn't a terrible match.
It was a good match for this show.
Yeah.
Now the next match we had, I thought was a terrible match. Alberto Del Rio versus Zack Ryder.
Oh, it was terrible.
I think there was something off. They were out of sync. You could see Alberto Del Rio at one point calling a spot to Zack Ryder. For whatever
we called the finish.
Yeah, whatever reason it is, these two just didn't gel together this week. I've seen them wrestle before, and they had a much better match, much like the one we just talked about, but for some reason they just weren't hitting on any cylinders on this one.
I think the problem was ADR was trying to let Ryder get over a little bit too much than what he should have, and you could tell it was bullshit. Because it was almost like his hometown area, stuff like that. So they're trying to make him look good. But when you destroyed this guy 2-3 weeks ago, don't give him a good match this week. Yes. That's my opinion on it.
Speaking of hometown talent, we had AJ Lee versus Vicky Guerrero. Now, the interesting, monkey wrench into this was Brad Maddox was a referee. I liked it. I liked the Brad Maddox. The match was terrible. Don't get me wrong. I like Brad Maddox being brought back on TV. There's something about his character that I like. He reminds me of early Jericho, of Chris Jericho, not ECW Jericho, but
WCW.
When Jericho first turned heel in ECW, when he was the Crybaby Jericho. This is kind of what Brad Maddox reminds me of, and I kind of like the kid. I really want to see more. I want to see the full potential of this kid because he's got my interest.
Yeah, he's really, like you said, he reminds you of, was it 97, 96 Jericho?
Yeah.
Having, the Ralphus and all that stuff around him because this guy has the camera crew with him and stuff like that. Like you said,
Some
this
of the
match,
same mannerisms too.
Yeah, this match was a travesty on my eyes, but he was the shining star of the match and he was just a referee.
Vicky Guerrero never hurts your eyes, GR.
Yeah, she makes me want to rip him out. But can we go from a travesty of a match to a solid, great match of the night? I figure the best match of the night.
I agree with you.
Kofi versus Cesaro. And Cesaro never fails to impress.
No. I mean, the guy is an absolute... he's an absolute monster in the making. If anybody out there does not see the future potential in this guy, you
don't need to watch wrestling.
You don't need to watch wrestling. Because this guy, I mean, he is exactly what you would look for in a heel. If he ever turns face, he's going to be the ultimate warrior.
You know, the thing I like about Cesaro is he reminds me so much, and I would say 95 era when Stone Cold Steve Austin was coming out to me. I mean, not the characters or mannerisms or anything like that, but the way I felt as a fan. Because not a lot of guys have really brought that out, where I was like, man, I'm so glad to see this guy wrestle. You know, he's going to be a kicking someone's ass. And he does. This guy is a brutal powerhouse, and he makes everything look so... It's just hard to describe. Like, he's almost perfect.
He's kind of a throwback to the British Bulldog style. Like, he has a little bit of the British Bulldog in him, and a little bit of Rick Rude's mannerisms in him.
The best spot of the night is when he caught Kofi off the top rope.
And hit him with the backbreaker.
Oh, my God. And it was just like... I mean, just like threading a needle. You know, I mean, it was that close. He could have screwed that move up, and he did it perfect.
I'll tell you what, the neutralizer, in my opinion, is the best finisher since the Stone Cold Stunner.
You know what? I hate to disagree. You know, it's an awesome move.
I mean, you got great moves like CM Punk's Go to Sleep, Ryback Shell Shock, but to me, for the look, the impact of it, the neutralizer has the biggest impact, in my opinion.
And it's also in the way Cesaro sells it too. The way he's putting people away the size of Brodus Clay into that move. The way he can put Sheamus up and do some of these moves that he does to these guys that are bigger than him. I mean, honestly, of last night, Cesaro was a shining star of the whole show. And I'm not taking nothing away from Kofi. Kofi was almost right up there with him.
Yeah, Kofi's great, and it's a great guy for him to work against because he's a really good worker as well. As long as with the pay-per-view, R-Truth versus Cesaro is going to be a pay-per-view show stealer, in my opinion. And just like Kofi versus Wade Barrett's going to be one of those matches that steal the show, in my opinion. I think the sky's the limit for Antonio Cesaro as well as Kofi Kingston, and they showed exactly why last night.
Oh, definitely.
Now, speaking of something that's actually limited, we came back with Miz TV, which you hit on a little bit earlier. You know, Miz TV, to me, there have been a couple really good ones, but for every good one, there's 3 horrible ones, and this falls in the horrible one category.
Oh, I agree. His face turn's good, but his shit-talking ability is limited. You know?
His trying to stir like you said earlier, trying to stir the drink and break up the Rhodes Scholars, it just seemed forced. It seemed too rehearsed and too scripted, for my opinion. And, the Miz TV is a cheap knockoff of Piper's Pit. And the great thing about Piper's Pit is it was never forced. It just came and flowed.
Just like that. I mean, Jericho's highlight reel was 10 times better than Miz TV.
Edge's, what was it? The
Cutting Edge.
The Cutting Edge, that's it. The Peep Show. I mean, there have been some decent interview segments. I do like that they took it to the stage. I've been wanting them to do it. I kind of don't like the interview segment in the ring.
It takes too long
to set up. The stage, kind of like they did with the Abraham Washington show, even though that was terrible. But in my opinion, this was just bad. And he tried to put himself over by making fun of the Rhodes Scholars. I don't even remember the corny jokes he was saying.
And you're right, they were just corny. That was one of the lower points of the night.
And the main event was pretty bad, too. We had John Cena versus The Big Show. Not taken away from either one of these guys. John Cena and The Big Show, if you go back, I think it's WrestleMania 23, 22.
Which one was it when he won
the title? When he won the U.S. title?
It's like 21.
21?
No, 20.
Somewhere in there. John Cena's one of his breakout matches. They put on an absolute great match that night.
Oh, yeah.
And Show has it in him, Cena has it in him to put in great matches. This one wasn't great. And, the only saving grace is we had the brawl at the end where pretty much everybody came out and started fighting all around. The Shield attacked Cena, which I thought was someone they should have attacked right off the bat. But, I mean, this main event is kind of what the whole show was, in my opinion. We had a little glimmering hopes of greatness, but the show, in my opinion, was one of the worst Monday Night Raws I've seen probably in 2-3 years.
So on a scale of 1 to 5,
I'd give it a 1. I might not even give it a 1. I might give it a 0. The only reason it's getting a 1 is for Kofi versus Cesaro. Other than that, I mean, Sheamus and Ziggler was a good match. It wasn't great. That's the thing. Everything was good, but not great.
It's like they didn't put no effort in it. It's like, here, screw it.
And this is a go-home show. There's a pay-per-view this weekend. We said the same thing last month. Their go-home show for the last pay-per-view was terrible, too. And you can't do that. You want to drive people to buy the pay-per-view. You can't have mailed-in, forced, shitty quality shows, in my opinion.
I totally agree. Like I said, I'll give it a 1 with you also. The one thing before we do close is, I'm tired of them. Cena's given the attitude adjustment to Big Show how many times, and now he can't do it no more?
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Really?
He did it to Show and Edge at the same time.
Really?
At one point. This ain't Miz TV.
I'm sorry. Better
But
than
anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about the show. Is there anything you need to add?
Terrible.
Terrible show. But
That's terrible. That's terrible.
My name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.